gears a bit and start talking to Marguerite. We've been talking about establishing a financial plan and the specifics that you need to think about as you get older. So a financial plan is a big part of an estate plan. And Marguerite, you as a fiduciary and a financial advisor helps people manage their estate plan. You get involved at various points, mostly at their request.
Right. Well, there's 3 triggering events in which someone like me goes to work, and that is death, which is the most famous, incapacity, and resignation. Resignation is a lesser known. The idea is that you might grow to be 95 or 97 years old, and you decide that you have 3 good hours a day and you don't want to spend any of them doing this. So there's that aspect, right, of resignation. And then incapacity, that may be resignation, you know you need help. Incapacity, you're the only one in the room who doesn't know that you need help. So usually that requires a doctor's examination and documentation. And so it's very important that you know when that, we can't know when that will happen, we just know that when that does happen, you are no longer able to manage your own affairs, period.
That's a difficult thing for somebody to accept.
Sure it is.
Enormously difficult.
Yeah.
Sure it is.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry. It's not going to happen next week. But we do want to set down a preference, because if I can't drive my own car, if I can't clean my own house, then I want at least a plan so that it gets done to my standards.
Right? That's a good way of putting it.
Right? So if you want things done to your standards, if it matters to you that things are done well, you can't just leave it to chance that someone will take care of it whenever it happens.
Well, the other thing that I know you do very well is to get involved in trust when someone has died, and one sibling or whoever the trustee was that was appointed to run the trust is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they get someone like me, a forensic accountant, involved because somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They get a fiduciary involved because you will handle the money properly, right?
Well, I account for everything. So I'm a California licensed professional fiduciary. There are very few of us in California, fewer than 750 active licensees in the whole state. But our job is very special because we have to put the desires and the wishes of the trustor, the one who created the trust, first. So the children, of course, are important, the beneficiaries, but really that person who created the trust has those plans, has those wishes, they must be honored first. And it's very tough for kids to do that because they have a conflict of interest. As soon as you become the beneficiary, and it's your mom, it's your family, you can no longer be objective. There just isn't a way. So being an objective, neutral third party, insured, with systems in place, with staff that does this every day, with lots of houses I've walked through to find all the important papers, and hopefully I get to meet the dog before I have to put it in my car and take it to the vet, right? So there's lots of details that we deal with that most people don't. So to your point, it's happened many times where me or one of the other fiduciaries on my team is the solution when the 2 co-trustees couldn't get it done. And by the way, co-trusteeship is a lot like putting 2 steering wheels on the same car. Please don't do that. Please stop doing that.
I see that done an awful lot, and they use the kids to be the co-trustees, which I think is such a mistake.
Right, and these kids now are in their 50s, they're busy with their businesses, with their lives, with their family. These are the same people who as children fought over the front seat of the car. And you can't let that go. You know, the siblings have their own relationship with each other, and you might not see it as a parent. So just trust that these kids get along great when you're in the room, and when you're not in the room, daggers, right? So it's just how it goes with families.
We're talking with Marguerite Lorenz. We've talked about an estate plan. Just briefly tell us, what does someone need to have in an estate plan in case somebody's watching and doesn't know what an estate plan really is? What is included in that?
So when you think about an estate plan, there are 4 basic documents I'd like you to think about, right? There's the trust. The trust can only operate on those assets that are titled in the name of the trust. And the trust can either be the owner or be the beneficiary. And there's special language in the trust that talks about how you would be cared for during your own lifetime, say if you were the one who became incapacitated. And then there's instructions for what to do with the money and how to spend it after you pass away. And there's a lot of specifics in the trust. A good trust might be anywhere from 20 to 80 pages. We've probably seen longer ones too. It just really depends on the kinds of assets you have and really what your plans are. The will only operates at your death. It's probably the shortest of the 4 documents, and it's the one document that becomes public after you die. And that way the world knows that you have a trust and they don't get to read it. They only got to see your will. And then the other 2 documents are more about your lifetime. The power of attorney for finance deals with those assets that cannot be titled in the name of the trust, like Social Security payments or negotiating with Medicare. And then the last one might be the most important, and that's your advanced healthcare directive. The medical community will always ask you first what your desires are, what medical procedures you're comfortable with, but if you cannot answer the question or you don't understand the consequences of those procedures, that's when your agent for healthcare steps up. It's not just about pulling a plug. Think of it more as a quality of life job. And so those 4 documents create the tools in the toolbox to manage your life when you can no longer manage on your own.
Great. We're talking with Marguerite Lorenz. She is a certified trust and financial advisor and fiduciary with Lorenz Financial Services. Her website, mytrustee.net, mytrustee.net, and estateplanninggroups.com. So speaking of estateplanninggroups.com, it's called EPGN. You started this group, and you're very passionate about the opportunities that it affords professionals. Tell us about why you started EPGN.
Sure. Elizabeth made a great point about not being able to do everything for a client on our own. And we also have to get to know each other. We have to build trust with each other, right? Because I want to be able to refer Elizabeth, but I'd like to know who she is as a person, because we're all much more than our job titles. So when I first started in this group, I'd become chairman for a long existing group that always had presentations. You know, you show up, and we've all been to those networking events, right? Mm-hmm. You show up, everybody says hi briefly, maybe there's a card exchange, we grab our food, and we get to the table, and now the presentation begins. And when the presentation ends, everybody goes to their cars, and it's over. I found myself hanging out at the valet parking my car with valet, so I could talk to people before they left, so I could learn from them what their take was on the presentation, and let's kind of talk about it. And that was not a great way to market my practice, because I felt like I was chasing it instead of being at the table with that energy and getting to know people. So I changed the format, and I brought a case study that next month. And I said, well, let's talk about this. And I made up a story about these 2 clients, and I added some facts from other clients that I'd had, and the conversation was amazing. And there were even 2 financial advisors at the same table, but they each have their own life experience, and so they brought their own ideas about what to do. And then there was a medical professional at the table, which you never see at certain estate planning events because they're not really invited. It's more about the transactions. And we get plenty of continuing education regarding those things because we need it for our licenses. But I didn't want to do it about continuing education. I really wanted to do it like this, where we're asking each other questions and kind of figuring out how we would help this couple. It's been amazing. So I started that 10 years ago. We started with 1 group, and now we have more than a dozen groups, and we're all over California.
Great.
Yeah.
So what kind of professionals usually attend these meetings?
So think in terms of tax, legal, financial, practical, and medical. Okay, so that same vulnerable elder or that disabled client needs a lot of different people to help. So we'll start first with the transactional professions, right? Financial advisor, CPA. Then we have the estate planning attorneys. Maybe we have a tax attorney. Maybe we have the litigation attorney who specializes in trusts. We might have the geriatric care manager, the professional fiduciary, the medical equipment guy, the mortician, the banker. I mean, we've had this amazing expanse, the realtor who specializes in dealing with probate and trust sales, right? Because it's all relevant. And at some point in time, acknowledging that I can't do everything myself, I build all those resources into my practice. Sure. So this isn't just for me to get referrals. This is so I know who to call when I have certain events occur. Mm-hmm. And they know to call me about certain things. So we use the case study as a way to get the conversation started. And what I've noticed is the meeting is just 1 hour. It might be breakfast, it might be lunch. You can always look it up on our website, estateplanninggroups.com, and find a meeting near you. Maybe you're feeling inspired and you'd like to be a chairman for one of our meetings, call me. So the idea is that we're building and strengthening the estate planning community to improve client outcomes everywhere.
Great. We're talking with Marguerite Lorenz. She is a certified trust and financial advisor and a fiduciary with Lorenz Financial Services, Inc. Her website is mytrustee.net and also estateplanninggroups.com, estateplanninggroups.com, EPGN. You said here that only estate planning professionals are included in the meeting. Tell me why that's important.
Well, because we're talking about estate planning topics. You know, we might be talking about firearms in the home. We might be talking about how to write an obituary. We might be talking about when someone's no longer able to drive their own vehicle. Those are estate planning related topics, but not necessarily ones that you find illuminated in the trust document. But there's certainly parts of the real lives of our clients. I have one lady that I know loves to travel. When she's no longer able to travel independently, we talked about the fact she might need a caregiver to go with her. She said he'd better be handsome. So you have that way of planning ahead and talking about things and having those discussions where if you go to a Business Networking International meeting or a Chamber of Commerce meeting, you know, you have a lot of great business professionals there, but they're not necessarily sensitive to the estate planning topics, and they don't work in those areas the way we do.
Great. So how do these meetings actually help to improve client outcomes, the results of what clients
Or
get?
experience.
Experience.
Also, experience too.
Sure. So one of the ways would be that we practice. You know, we have new professionals, we have long experienced professionals. So the idea is that we're together at the same table. And what I believe is that there are no two professionals exactly alike. We all have our life experience. We all have the experiences that we've had that we bring to the work, our passion for the work. Even if we have a certain title, we still might be passionate about certain things, right? So I met a financial professional recently who's really into boating. Well, I had an issue with a client with a boat, and I called him not because he could fix it, but so he could teach me the language I needed to speak to fix it. So that's part of what we do at the table, is we kind of hear these concepts, and sometimes there's big aha moments. Like, I didn't know fiduciaries have to do that. You know, we pretty much have to do everything. So there's that way of gaining experience without any risk. Because we're talking about a case study. It's always fictionalized. There's no one actually who's hurt or anything, but we get a chance to practice and feel what it would be like to work together. And you don't get that over a phone conversation. You don't get that over a lunch meeting one-on-one. You don't get that in any other networking environment that I've been to a lot of them. Okay, but that idea that we really get to practice together, oh, it's amazing.
That's great.
Y'all should come. Come.
So it's EPGN, and the website is estateplanningroups.com. And the website has the locations and times and dates of future meetings, right?
Yes.
So one last question. What are the benefits of professionals, for professionals who already attend a lot of networking meetings? You know, a lot of people go to different meetings. How is this one different? What are the
Great
benefits
question.
of this?
So when there's someone who approaches me who wants to do business with me, I tend to invite them to meet me at breakfast or to meet me at a lunch meeting. One, I get to see how well they play with others, which is super informative, okay? And then I save that half hour after that meeting to have a one-on-one conversation with them. And I get their take on whatever the topic was, because I had my own response to whatever the topic was, right? So the idea is that we get to know each other much more quickly. As I mentioned, we build trust more quickly. But also it's a value added. You're not just meeting me. I've introduced you to at least 7 or 8 other people at the table that might be valuable to you. So it's a wonderful way to soften the sales aspect of our work and actually have practice together without worrying about selling anything. We don't require any referrals. We don't require attendance. This is once a month. We're always dark in December because nobody needs one more thing to do in December. Okay, but that idea is that this is a wholesome, wonderful way to meet other people, and if you think you have a prospective client or someone that you want to work with, meet them at the group.
Great.
Yes.
Great. So the website for that is estateplanningroups.com, estateplanningroups.com, and we have a video clip of
I'm so
Marguerite
excited.
at her last meeting.
Hi, I'm Marguerite Lorenz, president of the Estate Planning Group Network. We are here to strengthen the estate planning community and to improve client outcomes everywhere. And as you can see behind me, there are people really enjoying their meeting. That's at estateplanningroups.com. I started this meeting about 10 years ago just because I really wanted to get to know the people in my community. And oh my gosh, it's been so successful. We have more than a dozen groups. We're all over California and hopefully across the nation. So come visit us at estateplanningroups.com and learn more.
was a great clip. That was a great clip. Gives you some insight of what breakfast happens there, right? Breakfast is short, and meeting is, what, an hour-ish?
1 hour.
1 hour, in and out, you got it.
Right.
So the website, estateplanningroups.com. That's the website, estateplanningroups.com. We've heard from Marguerite Lorenz. She is a fiduciary. The website is, again, estateplanningroups.com, or to find her directly, her business website, mytrustee.net. That's the website, mytrustee.net.